In the feature segment today, not one, but two new feature stories for you. Our first story is about helping people to see the forest and the trees in it. I'm talking about native trees. Because they are common, we don't always see them, much less think about planting them. In Lamar County, Mississippi, and many others, there's a growing emphasis in getting urban homeowners and other landowners to plant native trees. The virtues of native trees are even being learned by the young. Farmweek's Artist Ford reports.
Who can tell me some parts of the tree? What part of the tree is like a straw that just sucks things up out of the ground?
Patty Permenter's second grade class has its own red maple tree on the playground at Oak Grove Lower Elementary School. Permenter's pride was planted in 2009. The board-certified teacher says her students take care of the tree, giving them a sense of ownership that a picture in a book could never provide.
We have worked with a lot of different agencies to get science materials for the children. And one of the best projects that we've been involved in is the Teaching Tree Project. And this has given our students an opportunity to learn about trees and to plant a tree, to have a tree that's their own for them to take care of. We integrate this in our math activities. We measure the tree, we chart its growth, we draw pictures for art.
Permenter's students are benefiting from the Teaching Trees project started in 2009. 4 new elementary schools were completed that year in Lamar County to deal with its explosive population growth. The county's close proximity to Hattiesburg caused it to grow 41% from 2000 to 2010.
New schools need landscaping. That presented an opportunity to plant native trees and introduce the students to them.
The Teaching Trees project was spearheaded by the Lamar County Soil and Water Conservation District. In addition to other native trees, 5 Mississippi natives were planted in a small grove at each new school: the southern magnolia, ball cypress, longleaf pine, red maple, and a nuttall oak.
And the teachers, when they talk about trees and forestry to the elementary students, they can walk outside and have an outdoor classroom environment and talk about trees that are native to our state.
Kids today spend a lot of time in front of the TV, watching video games, playing video games, watching TV. When you have trees in a setting where they can get to it and touch it every day, it makes a difference in their learning and taking things in.
And you hold the dirt and put the whole thing down in there.
Exposing urban children to hands-on conservation education is a high priority for the Lamar County Board of Supervisors.
Today, with this rapid growth, we need it more. They're working with our children in the schools, these flower gardens. A lot of times this is probably the only time some of these children get this. Naturally, the more natural trees we get out from this area, that produces your oxygen, you purify your water. So they're very important in different ways.
We have the great help from the Board of Supervisors and a lot of sister agencies, partnerships, NRCS and Extension Service, Forestry Commission, and many others, Soil and Water Conservation Commission. We all work together to introduce conservation education to the county because we just think that's the right thing to do.
Many Mississippi soil and water conservation districts are concentrating on getting landowners to consider the advantages of native trees. First, they are adapted to Mississippi's soils and climate. Native trees require less maintenance, and the local wildlife prefer them. In the winter, it can be hard to imagine, but some native trees, like the nuttall oak, have beautiful fall foliage and can produce acorns for wildlife food. Another wildlife food source is the mulberry, which produces fruit that can be used for making pies and jam.
Then, like you say, we have a whole wide variety of large trees, of medium-sized trees, of small trees, some of which are very showy in spring, some of which are not, but we have a wide variety of species to choose from. Just in the oaks, for example, we have about 40 different oaks, native oaks in Mississippi. So we have a wide variety to choose from.
Extension Forestry Professor Glenn Hughes says, when choosing a native tree, ask yourself a few questions. How big is the space where the tree will go? Small saplings can grow into big problems later. What is the soil type, and is the area predominantly wet or dry? Do you want an evergreen or a tree whose leaves will turn color and drop in the fall? What about a bloomer like the parsley hawthorn or the river birch with its attractive bark? Whatever one you choose, it should be transplanted generally in the December through February time period in Mississippi.
Generally, the best time to plant a tree is when it's dormant, when it's not growing. So, and that's why a lot of tree planting is done in winter. Now, that being said, if you get a tree that's grown in a container, that widens your window, and so you can plant, well into the growing season.
Don't assume, however, that native trees can be transplanted anywhere and forgotten. Regardless of whether you plant a bare root or container-grown seedling, you want to keep it watered during its early years so it can establish a root system. Patty Permenter says the rewards are worth the effort. Her class tree provides a real-world experience that allows her to introduce other science subjects.
They really start caring about nature more, and it's not, even though we're just concentrating on the tree, they may look more closely at nature, whether we're looking at clouds or whether we're looking at insects, but it just opens a lot of doors for them, and that science door that we want to get open, and we want them to care about our world.
From Oak Grove, Mississippi, I'm Artis Ford reporting.